Hello YouTube. In today's video I got this new Game Boy Color for $30 on eBay. It's not working, it's missing buttons, it's missing screws. Let's see what we can do. So you can see there's also a lot of corrosion, and as I said, I got it for $30. Um, Nowadays a Game Boy Color in good condition is going for around $100, especially if you buy it on Amazon. It can go all the way to 120. So let's go and put some batteries. I can see some lighting on the power LED, which is something very odd to see. Let me put the volume all the way up. There's no volume and there's no display, but I'm sorry that I didn't focus that properly, but I was looking at some light into the power indicator LED. So this is only being held up by one screw. So let me remove that very quick with my tri-wing screwdriver. And let's see, looks actually in decent condition. For I think that a battery was left here on the battery compartment for the longest time. So now let's try to remove with my Phillips screwdriver these three screws. I hold the motherboard to the shell, and we can see that there's also some battery acid corrosion into the A button pad and also some on B, and there's signs of corrosions here and there, but nothing to be so very worried about. So let me move this to the side and see what we can do. Let me test it on my testing console just to see that the display is not the issue on that green one that I got. And after I power it on again, I can see a little bit of light on the LED. I don't know if that's caught on the camera, but there's no sound and there's no display. So to start working on this, what I'm gonna do is remove as much as I can of this corrosion with some IPA and a cotton swab. Clean. Nobody wants to see me doing that for the longest time. So I like to remove excess of IPA and whatever I removed with a tissue. So now let's bring the powerhouse, the white vinegar. This is very good to remove this battery acid corrosion. So just grab your Q-tip and start putting into the corroded areas. This is the positive terminal. As you can see on the base, it has a lot of that blue substance. So let's just scratch it a little bit, make the vinegar do its job, leaving the substance for a minute there. Now, let me grab my magic eraser and try to remove a little bit more. Try not to bend this as much as I did, because you can, if it's too corroded, you can break it. Now let me bring once again my Q-tip with white vinegar and start putting more and more into the affected zone. After a moment, I continue to do that until I'm happy with the results. A little bit more of white vinegar, and continue to work on the affected areas. As you can see, we removed already a lot of the blue thing, so we are doing great. This moment I'm holding the battery pad so we don't bend it. Now again with the magic eraser removing, and now that I'm happy with the result, let me bring another Q-tip, and now with IPA clean a little bit more. The IPA will remove the excess of vinegar. Now let me dry it. So now what I'm gonna do is change the volume capacitor and the display capacitor, which is this one. Reason is because there's no other reason I can think that if there's power flowing through the board, why the display is not working or why the volume is not working. So this is my first guess. Maybe those capacitors were affected by the corroded terminal or by the acid that was spilled when the battery went very old. So let's just apply some flux. I already have some videos speaking about recapping Game Boys. As you can see, I will leave a card in the top right corner on the screen so you can watch that video. You want a full explanation, but still I want you guys to see me how I do it so you don't rip apart your pads that are under the capacitors. What I did first is apply some new solder into each pad of each capacitor, and then put some flux, and then heat, and only pull when you see that the solder has melted. Now let's do the same thing with the other capacitor. Sorry for my hand not letting you see the process, but what I'm doing here is pretty much the same thing. I heat and move it to the side once the solder has melted. Same thing with the other pad, and just like that, we have removed both capacitors. Every time that we work with flux, we have to clean with IPA and a tissue, so we clean the area. Now let me bring my ceramic capacitors, which are the ones that I prefer the most to use when I'm recapping a Game Boy Color, just because they last pretty much forever. So now we're gonna install C35. On that video that I said before, we have the explanation and how to find these capacitors online. I got mine from AliExpress, so you can do the same thing. What I like to do is put the capacitor into position and heat so it sits into the position that we need it to be, and then apply some solder to each one of the sides so it stays there forever. I'm gonna do the same thing with the volume capacitor. Remember that the brown stripe on the capacitor is the positive side. So now that it is in position, heat and apply some solder. Just like that, very quick, we have recapped this Game Boy Color motherboard. Let me apply some more here, just to give it a better looking solder work. And this is how it looks. They look very, very nice installed. So now let's put all together again. I won't use the screws that hold the motherboard. I'll just close it so I can test it. Let me put now some batteries, and as you can see, it's working. It has display and it has volume. So we did a good job here. Thing is, will it play correctly a game? Let's try with our favorite game, Toy Story. So we have the game working. The only thing, I love this game, but it takes forever to go to the press start screen. And as much as I press start and I press A, we cannot move past forward this screen. So yeah, maybe the acid affected also these buttons. Let me try with Pokemon Red, just to discard that I was not messing with the game. And yep, we got nothing. So let's go back and disassemble this console so we can continue to work on it. What I did is I changed the button pads for press, start, and select. I use a Game Boy Color rubber pads because the ones that I used before were from a Game Boy Pocket and they were not big enough, but the result is pretty much the same. We cannot make work the start button or the A button. So again, let's pull the board out of the console. And when I am examining it, I can see that there's pads corroded, closed A and B, like we say when we were diagnosing the board. Here you can see there's blue from the battery acid. So what I'm gonna do is I will bring my deoxit, because the first thing that I want to do is remove the gunk accumulated in top of the copper. One drop to each of the pads will be more than enough, and I will spread it with my cotton swab so I can spread it evenly across the pad. Now more magic eraser. Thank you Tronics Fix for these tips. And scratch, scratch, scratch. Just let's try to remove all the gunk. I can see it's shining a little bit more. Let me clean the work area. So it's looking a little bit better, but let's bring back again the powerhouse for today, which is the white vinegar. Let me zoom in a little bit too for you. Now I'll use my white vinegar to try to clean those corroded vias and try to remove all the corrosion possible from these pads. You can very quickly see how the Q-tip is absorbing a lot of corrosion. So now let me speed this up. The only thing that I did is that clean with the white vinegar and remove the excess with a paper towel. Now let's test for continuity after cleaning it. And as you can see, those buttons are working. Finally, what I want to do is just change the other capacitor, the main power capacitor, which I think is C32. Same thing, you already saw me doing this, and like I said before, we have a specific video teaching how to do this safely. I want to do this just because if we know that the other two capacitors are already um, not working, why not change this one so this will last pretty much forever. This is a little bit more tricky to install because it's a bigger capacitor and it barely has space to be soldered. Now that we did all of that work, let's bring again the testing console, assemble without putting any screws, and try to put the batteries, and let's put a game and turn on the console. So far so good. Everything's working. Look at that. Now A is working perfectly. Looking good. Continue. Yes. Now we can go to the game. All the D-pad is working and start is working as well. Select, I don't know, but let me see. Maybe if we starts working. Okay, let's go to the PC. The old school trick that there's a potion when you start a Pokemon game. Withdraw it, and now let's see. I will press start, item, and if we press select, oh, you can see it's trying to highlight the arrow when I press select, but because we don't have any more items, we cannot move it. So this means it's working. So now let's turn it off, and I want to sell the console as the most original it was as possible. I won't mod this. What I'm gonna do is try to leave it the best that I can. I found a battery cover in my stuff in the same color, but I don't know if it will fit this console. So now I'm using this tool that came with my screwdriver set. It's a screen remover tool. You just push it and then you pull the screen out of the shell. For me, this is the easiest method. I've never done anything like this before, so we'll see how it goes. Pull, pull, pull. And yes, we got the screen lens out. So if you are an avid Game Boy modder like myself, you will have a lot of lenses spare laying around. So I grabbed one of those, remove the film, and then I created this small band and remove it as well. So now let's put it into position. You could see how badly the scratches on the previous lenses were. Probably somebody did them with a knife or something for some reason. So let's just align it with the console. And once it's aligned, we just need to push. It will look like this eventually. Very, very nice. The only thing that I've heard that is wrong with these lenses is that they look a little bit gray compared to the original ones. But I mean, I think this is an upgrade comparing to the previous lenses that it has. So now I figured out that the reason why that battery cover was there is because it's broken. So it won't stay into position. So let's put a game and see how this looks. You can see it looks a little bit like glossy, but I like it way more than when it was before. So now we have a console is way better looking. I clean also the outer shell and the inner shell just to leave it as much nice as possible. So thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful for you.